Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
And I'm tracking Tropical Storm Jerry, brand new storm as of the 11 o'clock advisory. I'll show you when it could become a hurricane and where it's headed.
Child assaulted. A school employee is out of a job after allegations of child abuse. What investigators say took place on school property.
And reshaping Raleigh's skyline, where developers right now are trying to figure out where they want to build a 30-story mixed-use building and why someone to want to block that plan.
You're looking at a live look of Carolina Beach here. Oh, beautiful afternoon to be there, right? And more than 1,000 miles away, a new tropical storm has formed in the Atlantic. Tropical Storm Jerry, as it will be called, is moving west. And we thank you for joining us here this noon hour. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Levingood. Thank you so much for joining us. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio, where you're talking a little bit about where it's headed and just how strong it's going to get, Elizabeth.
So it is likely to become a hurricane, but not until Thursday. So it will continue to gain some strength as it's out in the Atlantic. Minimal impact to land. This one's going to turn out to sea. It looks like it's going to head toward the Leeward Islands, but it doesn't look like it's going to have a major impact there. It's 1,300 miles to the east of the Leeward Islands, and so that puts it at least 2,000 miles from North Carolina, or maybe even farther than that. It is moving fast to the west at 24 miles per hour, with winds right now at 24 miles per hour. We take a look at that ever important forecast track. It continues to move northwest, and then just before it gets to the Leeward Islands, it turns northward. And by the weekend, it's brushing past Bermuda. It does look like it'll pass east of Bermuda, which of course keeps Bermuda from really getting, the highest impact. It doesn't look like it's going to get any stronger than a Category 1 storm, so it remains that. But even a Category 1 storm 300 or 400 miles off the coast of North Carolina can still bring us high rip current danger. It is going to be a little bit cooler along the coast. We're getting sort of out of swimming season, but still something to take note of. And then we'll be watching for the potential for some surf to become strong. We've had 9 homes fall into the water on Hatteras Island over the last week. But there's another system that could develop off our coast over the weekend that could be even more dangerous to our coast. We'll take a closer look at that one coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Breaking right now at noon, a teacher's assistant in our area is now off the job and facing charges after deputies say she assaulted a student with disabilities. The Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office arrested Regina Gray this week. She's accused of strangling a child with disabilities at G.W. Bullock Elementary in Rocky Mount. Deputies charged her with assault and misdemeanor child abuse. She posted bond. Gray worked for the district for less than a year. The school district sent a statement to parents saying, please know that student safety is and will always be our top priority. We are fully cooperating with law enforcement as they handle this matter, and we're committed to maintaining a safe and supportive learning environment for every child.
Tonight, the public will get a chance to voice their thoughts on a proposal that could reshape Raleigh's skyline. Developers are asking leaders to rezone more than 2 acres of downtown to allow for a 30-story tower. Now, neighbors are upset about the developer's plan to build a mixed-use high-rise building near the future Smoky Holly Park. That's near Peace and West Streets, if you're familiar. WRAL's Flynn Snyder is live at that site. Flynn, city leaders could very well vote on this.
Yeah, Chris, how high is too high? That is the question at the center of this debate. This is only a rezoning request, but future plans call for a 30-story high-rise here near Peace and West Streets. It would include office space, retail, and apartments. It would sit right across from the Publix building right here downtown. For perspective, that building is about 12 stories, so about half of what is being proposed, and it's what the current zoning allows as well. Some who live in the nearby Brooklyn-Glenwood neighborhood want to stop to this plan. They say the building would be too tall and would negatively impact traffic. An advocacy group has also advertised broad opposition to the plan. Meanwhile, petitioner Raleigh Development Company says the project, the tower, is needed. It would increase density downtown, plus allow for more public transit and job options. Some businesses on this site face possible relocation if the project moves forward. One owner I spoke with says that's something they've been preparing for.
Yeah, I would love to be able to stay here because, again, this has been a great location for us. But we've been planning for this since we moved in here. And so every delay has been a bit of a win because it means we could stay here a little bit longer.
In August, Raleigh's Planning Commission approved the height increase. City Council will now have the final say. Tonight's public hearing begins at 7 o'clock in council chambers. Afterwards, council members can vote on the proposal or defer for further review. Flint Snyder, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Raleigh City Council members will meet this afternoon to discuss several projects. One item on the agenda involves the New Bern Avenue corridor of the Wake Bus Rapid Transit. Staff reviewed contracts and recommended awarding the bid to Fred Smith Company for $71 million. The New Bern Avenue project will install approximately 5.4 miles of BRT infrastructure connecting Wake Med Hospital to downtown Raleigh. City staff members also plan to revisit a Raleigh nightlife ordinance today. Members will propose 3 categories for loud music in Glenwood South and the rest of the city. This summer, a judge ruled that the proposed nightlife permit conflicted with state law on alcohol sales. The amendment aims to establish clear rules that balance business interests and homeowners' desire.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, if you don't have the REAL ID, you can now renew your driver's license online. It's a move that the DMV says will streamline services and also reduce wait times. Now, this change, effective immediately, it stems from Senate Bill 245, which was signed into law last week by Governor Stein. DMV Commissioner Paul Tyne says by choosing online services, you are freeing up space for those who need in-person assistance. Now, again, this change only applies to non-REAL ID driver's license only and also not state ID cards.
It's been very clear they want to try to reduce those lines. Thank you, Michelle. Durham police are investigating a shooting in a convenience store parking lot. That happened around 7 o'clock this morning along South Austin Avenue. Here's WRAL's Ali Kabdabar.
Police on the scene tell us that a woman was shot here, and we were here as officers were trying to piece together what happened. Take a look at this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. You can see that bullet hole in the windshield of this food truck. We saw officers going inside of that food truck, gathering evidence. We also saw the forensics team gathering evidence there as well. Now, officers were called out here around 7 a.m. We're still working to find out what led up to the shooting. We're going to keep you updated. Reporting in Durham, Ali Kadhabar, WRAL News.
Investigators were called to a report of a train hitting a person in Selma, and that train was stopped on the tracks as Skyfly flew above that this morning. Selma police have not released more information about that. We actually just made calls maybe 5-ish minutes ago, but WRAL will be asking the questions, did someone die, and how did that person end up on the tracks?
And back here in the Live Center, following some breaking news out of Cary, a man from Cary was arrested earlier this morning for soliciting a prostitute. This is him. His name is Babber George. We've learned from police around 1:20 this morning they conducted a traffic stop due to a moving violation, and through investigative means, they determined the driver, Babber George, was involved in soliciting a prostitute. He was arrested and charged. He is charged with soliciting a prostitute for first offense. They say this incident is an ongoing investigation. He will be in court at 1:30 this afternoon. Sean Gallagher is on the story. He'll have more on this coming up starting at 4 p.m.
Michelle, thanks. The 2026 elections are still over a year away, but already 2 of North Carolina's main U.S. Senate candidates have raised millions of dollars from supporters. Republican Michael Whatley's campaign says he raised just under $6 million. That's a lot of money this early in the race, but it is also less than half of what Democrat Roy Cooper is reporting. His campaign says Cooper has raised $14.5 million so far. Cooper's campaign claims that sets a new record for any Senate race in U.S. history at this point in the election cycle. The city of Durham's primary elections are today. The officers of mayor and 3 city council members are on the ballot. In each race, the incumbent in the seat is running for re-election. 2 candidates for mayor will move on to the general election in November. 6 candidates for the 3 city council seats will move on. The polls are open until 7 tonight. Fayetteville is also holding its municipal elections. Find out if your city has elections today, and you can learn about the candidates on WRAL.com.
Today, Wake County school leaders will meet to discuss the AI policy in your child's school, and they're getting closer to solidifying ways to regulate students' use. As WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains, this is the second time Amazon will be presenting.
AI is developing at lightning speed, and today Wake school leaders will meet about how it could benefit your child in the classroom. Today, Wake school leaders will be meeting here at the school board headquarters to brainstorm a new AI policy. This is the second time school leaders will meet with Amazon about AI. A company representative is coming back to share how AI can help schools work more efficiently. Wake County Schools already encourages the use of AI. There's just not an official policy on it yet. But a few parameters exist, like students are encouraged to use Google Gemini over ChatGPT. The district has a data privacy agreement with Google. WRAL Education Insider Emily Walkenhorst explains how other school districts are handling AI.
A lot of other school districts in our area have AI policies. They're usually a couple of paragraphs encouraging the use of AI and explaining an expectation for students. So students should be literate in AI. They should know how to use it. They should know AI's limits.
You can follow our coverage of today's Wake Schools meeting on our website, WRAL.com. Just click on the education section. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Cary.
Actually, WRAL's Lena Tillett went into 2 Wake County schools to see how some teachers are already using AI in their classrooms. They were navigating how to use the technology safely and how to make sure AI is not replacing the actual learning process. You can find that story on WRAL.com.
Let's take a look at stocks. All the major indexes are in the red. The Dow is down about 220 points, S&P 500 down 36, and NASDAQ down triple digits, down 178 points as investors worry about the federal government shutdown dragging on. Grim anniversary, 2 years later, and still no end to the war in Gaza. The progress being made right now to change that.
Flight delays and sick days. The challenge is being created for airlines and travelers because air traffic controllers are calling off sick during the government shutdown.
Deals, deals, deals. What online sales are underway to help you get your holiday shopping done a bit earlier.
Coming up next, sea storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
Well, this is a treat looking at Beaufort on a beautiful Tuesday, though we are tracking some rain in the forecast. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will have that in just a bit. As you're looking live here, watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. Peace talks between Israel and Hamas are underway again today in Egypt. Today also marks 2 years since Hamas attacked Israel. 1,200 people were killed and 251 were taken hostage. NBC's Matt Bradley reports on the solemn anniversary.
Yeah, it's a solemn and somber day for many Israelis. And, you know, I'm here in what Israelis have christened Hostage Square. And while there hasn't been a huge number of people gathering, this is the day. And we're going to start to see a lot more people coming here for commemorations all throughout the evening. But some of the folks that I've been speaking to, including relatives of some of those remaining hostages, whether they be alive or dead, have said that 2 years now into this war, they're very disappointed. They thought that they would be seeing their loved ones now. They thought that they would see the bodies of those people who had been killed on October 7th who are still being held in the Gaza Strip. And they thought that they would see some relief to the war in the Gaza Strip. And instead, they're seeing what really looks like, despite these negotiations, continued attacks and a continued impasse among these negotiations. But at the same time, we're hearing from a lot of people that just in the past couple of days, they've had more hope for seeing an end to this war than they have any time in the past 2 years. And we spoke with Yair Lapid. He is the head of the opposition, and he said the same thing, that he's actually very optimistic for the first time in a long time that this could succeed, that the talks that are currently going on in Egypt and Sharm el-Sheikh between Hamas and the Israelis could actually yield an end to the fighting. But we've been here before, not quite this close, but we've been here before in terms of these negotiations. And he warned, as did many other Israelis, that anything could get in the way to stop these talks. But still, there's a lot of optimism. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Families of hostages and supporters protested outside the residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and they're calling for the release of all of those still held captive by Hamas in Gaza. sirens blared across Israel, marking the second anniversary. You could even hear them near the prime minister's residence. That's where hostages' families have set up a protest camp and in other locations. Israel's retaliatory attacks have killed more than 67,000 Palestinians. This year, the October 7th anniversary coincides with the Jewish holiday. The official state Memorial Day will happen on October 16th.
The United States recorded its first EF5 tornado in 12 years, but it takes a lot more work to get that rating. Meteorologists say a twister in eastern North Dakota in June had winds topping 200 miles per hour, upgrading that storm to an EF5. It was the first in America in 12 years. And in today's Ask the Meteorologist, Chris Michaels explains the steps taken over the last 4 months to get that rating.
This was a tornado that happened back in June in North Dakota. I don't think we expected to snap the EF5 streak in North Dakota, but here we are with a storm that was estimated to have at least 210 mile per hour winds, but it did take quite some time to get there, and we'll show you how. So the EF scale is basically a wind estimate for tornadoes when the National Weather Service goes out and they survey damage. Now, there could be plenty of these violent tornadoes that happen, but they never damage anything, so they never get that EF4 or EF5 rating. So this one is the first EF5 that we've seen since May of 2013. Commonly what happens is the National Weather Service will go out, or emergency management will go out. They'll see what was damaged using 28 different types of damage indicators, and then they'll see the degree of damage. They'll measure the structural integrity, and they'll come up with an estimate from there. But what you see on the right-hand side was a set of train cars that were just demolished by this tornado. In fact, some reanalysis found that an empty tanker was tossed nearly 500 feet, and trees were essentially sandpapered by the storm. So all of that led the National Weather Service and a bunch of other experts, engineers, and researchers to that EF5 conclusion that happened nearly 4 months ago.
Chris, thank you. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out there on the WRAL weather patio, soaking up the sunshine, and it feels nice out there once again. But finally, rain is going to come.
We definitely need that rain. We're going to start off with our next weather maker, which is this cold front that's moving across the Midwest right now. Look at how much rain there is out ahead of it. Unfortunately, it's going to lose some of that energy by the time it makes it here. It looks like our potential for rainfall is going to be 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, or maybe even less. Some of the reason for that is it's going to move pretty fast once it moves in. Now, we could have a sprinkle or a stray shower. Right now, it's partly cloudy over the patio right here. But look at what's happening off to the east. East of I-95, north of Goldsboro, moving up toward Wilson, is a little band of rain, and no thunder and lightning there, but just a sprinkle, a little bit of light patchy rain. And we take a look at Futurecast, and it definitely shows that this afternoon. It shows quiet weather right now with dry conditions, but right there between, say, 3 and 5 o'clock, a couple little dots of green, especially along and east of I-95. So there could be a stray sprinkle, possibly even a band of rain that rolls through overnight tonight, right around midnight. But it looks dry for us during the morning commute. We'll pause things there at 7 a.m. We're nice and dry. And then it's, say, 9 or 10 or 11 before we start to see the rain. And by lunchtime, by noon, it's moving right through the viewing area. And some of that's going to produce some heavy rain, maybe even some thunder and lightning, but it is going to move through pretty quickly. We may have one more band that comes through around 6 o'clock, and then that's going to be the end of it. Skies begin to clear and temperatures begin to drop really fast. Here's a look at the gardens behind me. Again, we're looking at partly cloudy skies. The sun went behind a cloud, but it's feeling great out here. It's 81 degrees with a dew point of 62. Now, if it was 81 with a dew point of 72, it would not be as comfortable, but it feels good out here right now. 78 in Fayetteville, 81 in Rocky Mount, 77 up around Roxborough, 80 in Durham, 79 in Apex, 77 in Holly Springs. So it's a nice one. Our highs will climb into the mid 80s. That's still not a record. Our records this time of year are up into the 90s. The average last 85-degree day, though, is right about now. Today's the 7th, and it's arranged between October 7th and October 13th. So, this is about the time that we start to see our temperatures beginning to cool off a little bit. The reds and the yellows and oranges there are, of course, where temperatures are above normal. That front comes through tomorrow, and then behind it, watch how everything turns blue. That's the cold air that'll start to creep in. We'll begin to feel that on Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, highs will be in the upper 60s, of course, but today it's 85. So we'll see a big drop in our temperatures behind tomorrow's front. And we'll have, of course, the timeline for rain likely to be between 10 and 11. At around 6 or 7 is when when we'll have the best chance of rain. Our rain chances, again, about 70% for Wednesday, but Saturday and Sunday, we have a 40% chance of showers. We may see a coastal low that developed. I hinted at that earlier when we were talking about Tropical Storm Jerry. We'll talk more about what the possibility is for rain to develop along the coast Saturday and Sunday and send some our way coming up.
Look at that downward slide of the temperatures.
Right.
That's our fall feel later on this week and weekend. Soybean battle. North Carolina's soybean industry is on the forefront of a trade battle. This afternoon at 4, hear the message local farmers have for President Trump as the deadline to secure a trade deal looms.
And then at 6 o'clock, impact of erosion. We are going to share a new 3D mapping of Buxton's shoreline, the scale of the erosion on our coast, and what steps need to be taken to protect our shore as houses continue to collapse. Spooky spending. People are expected to pay more for Halloween this year. The projected cost of a costume.
And Barbie breaks the mold. Why Mattel ditched the traditional physique for a new series called Team Barbie. It is October and the gift-giving holidays are pretty much right around the corner. 5 Under Side's Keely Arthur has a look at some of the best deals that you can take advantage of this week.
Can you believe it? October is the unofficial start to the holiday shopping season. Between Amazon's Prime Days this week and other major retailers following suit, now is your chance to save some money. You may know Dyson for their vacuums, but the company is also in the headphone business. Their on-track noise-canceling headphones are now half off on the company's website. Consumer Reports says they deliver superb sound and top-notch noise canceling. And if you're planning to take advantage of some Amazon Prime Day deals, this Instant Pot air fryer is nearly half off for Prime members. Consumer Reports ranks this one high, saying it's easy to use, quiet, and easy to clean. Another Amazon Prime Day deal, the Edifier Bluetooth speakers. CR says their standout sound quality makes them a bargain even at full price. Or if you need a new coffee maker, this 10-cup grind and brew coffee maker is marked down at Macy's. And if you're concerned about buying gifts in October, but the return policy expiring before Christmas, many retailers have extended their return window until January. But be sure to check the store's return policy beforehand. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
So you may be spending more money on spooky festivities this year. The National Retail Federation projects Halloween spending to reach a record $13.1 billion this year. Despite people's concerns over higher costs for costumes and candy, the survey shows many people will still celebrate that holiday. Candy sales are expected to reach $4.3 billion, and costume spending may reach upwards of $4.3 billion. Now, if you need to get in the holiday mood, apparently Spirit Christmas is coming soon. Oh boy. All right, so starting in early November, 30 new Spirit Christmas locations will open in the Northeast and Great Lakes region. You can find decorations and gifts, plus you can get your picture taken with Santa Claus. Some stores will open in pre-existing Spirit Halloween locations. That's a smart strategy there.
Can we get through Halloween first? And then we'll get to Christmas. Okay. Disruptions and delays. The government shutdown is affecting people across the country. How some air traffic controllers are working hard to keep flights on schedule.
Also coming up, the benefits of creatine. Some expect advice on why you should consider adding to supplements to your workout routine. And we do have a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
As the government shutdown stretches into another day, airports across the country are keeping an eye on air traffic controller staffing issues. Those controllers are considered essential employees, so they have to show up for work even as paychecks are paused. NBC's Tom Costello explains how some workers are dealing with the fragile situation.
Far from Washington, the government shutdown is now rippling into air traffic control towers in Newark, in Denver, and in Phoenix. Long delays due to staffing yesterday, according to the FAA. In Burbank, the air traffic control tower left completely unmanned overnight for roughly 6 hours.
We're beginning closing down the tower. Is it because of the shutdown that you guys are going? It's for staffing. Burbank Tower is closed.
Controllers in San Diego took over for Burbank, but the delays remained. California Governor Gavin Newsom blaming the president online, while in Washington, partisan fighting continues, with Republicans blaming Democrats for the shutdown.
The Democrats are the ones that started this.
As workers across the federal government, including air traffic controllers, go without pay. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says there's been a slight uptick of sick calls, resulting in flight delays.
If we have additional sick calls, we will reduce the flow consistent with a rate that's safe for the American people.
Duffy says he's heard from workers about their concerns.
They have bills they have to pay. So now they're thinking about that at the same time that they're controlling the airspace.
The National Air Traffic Controllers Union calls the ongoing crisis the latest example of how fragile the system is in the midst of a national controller shortage.
We do not have time to waste on the unnecessary distractions created by this shutdown. So our message is clear: end the shutdown.
The union says it's working with the FAA to mitigate disruptions, but the concern this morning, this could get worse, with the busy holiday travel season now just over a month away.
That was Tom Costello reporting. Some residents are fighting back against the upcoming Airport Boulevard expansion project, the one in Morrisville. It's scheduled to begin in February and will expand the street and widen it by 2 lanes. Some people signed an online petition to stop this project. They worry about the risk to children, to families, and to wildlife. Morrisville Town Manager Brandon Zudima tells WRAL that project, it has been a long time coming, but the COVID pandemic, that put it on hold.
There was a virtual session that was held back in April of 2021 at the time that this was thought to be a little closer to construction. But of course, COVID impacted that, particularly with budgets and other things. And then now it is moving forward.
And that project is scheduled to be completed by 2028. You can actually learn more about it.
Drinking just 1 can of diet soda a day may boost the risk of non-alcohol fatty liver disease by 60%. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, is a condition that causes fat to build up in the liver of people who drink little to no alcohol. The damage can resemble that of a heavy drinker of alcohol and lead to cirrhosis and liver cancer. New research found that drinking diet beverages was linked to a higher risk of dying from liver disease. Girls who overeat during preschool have a higher risk of early mental health problems. Experts found that this group was more likely to develop anxiety, impulsivity, and hyperactivity when they become teenagers. The study found that girls who overate as children displayed the emotional problems, but there was no such connection found in boys. The study did not find a link to mental health challenges, by the way, for picky eaters.
Creatine is a natural energy source for muscles and can be found in animal-based foods like beef and chicken, fish, milk, and eggs. So if you're working out, monohydrate creatine in powder form is considered the most effective. 3 to 5 grams is generally recommended, and it can be taken before, during, or even after a workout. Most people do not need to do a loading phase, though. That's basically when you take extra creatine to help build up muscle stores quicker. And there can also be some side effects you should know about.
In the athletic world, creatine's been used for quite some time, and mainly in the powder form because it is the best absorbed. And it has been shown to enhance muscle recovery and muscle growth, and also can help with muscular energy, meaning reduces muscular fatigue and helps reduce some of that soreness after exercise too.
Now, keep in mind, creatine may not be safe for people with certain medical conditions. I'm talking about people with kidney disease and even people who are pregnant.
Giving Back, a grassroots organization, is on a mission to support families of children facing a medical crisis. I'll talk with a Me Fine representative about a night of elegance and giving. Plus,
look at those arms, girl. You've been working out, haven't you? That's a serious bicep.
A serious bicep on a Barbie doll. Mattel launched a new line of dolls made in the likeness of rugby players from around the world. More reaction from the first honoree.
And welcome back. Get ready to enter a world of elegance, entertainment, and generosity, all for a great cause. The Me Fine Foundation hosts its signature event this month in support of children receiving care at Duke, UNC, and WakeMed Children's Hospitals. Joining me now to talk about a speakeasy soiree is Joey Powell. He's the executive director of the Me Fine Foundation. Joey, thanks so much for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
For those who aren't familiar with Me Fine, explain the mission of the foundation.
It's really simple. Our job is to take some of the financial and emotional stressors off of families while their children are facing medical crisis at local children's hospitals. So we're trying to give them more time with their kids while their kids are facing really, really tough treatment.
And this is the signature event to raise money for that. Okay, the theme, speakeasy. I'm thinking 1920s Prohibition
Bingo.
Era. Yeah, jazz?
Bingo. Jazz, jazz, community, a lot of fun kind of recognition of what our role is for these families. And this is kind of a way we thought that we could spice it up, give some folks a chance to enjoy themselves, dress up, and come do something different while helping our cause.
And so what can people expect at this night out?
Should be a lot of fun. We are doing it at Bay 7 at American Tobacco, which a lot of folks are familiar with. It's a great venue. We're going to have live music from the Triangle Jazz Orchestra. Nice. That's going to be amazing. Yeah, food's going to be catered by the Angus Bar.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines that we're following today. A Kerry preacher and human rights nonprofit leader is facing a prostitution charge. Robert George was arrested by Raleigh police at 1:20 this morning, and he was pulled over for a moving violation. And that's when officers discovered that he was involved in soliciting a prostitute. George is set to appear in court this afternoon.
A teacher's assistant in our area is now off the job and facing charges after deputies say she assaulted a student with disabilities.